Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman. I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. Now, if you know what's good for you, today is actually Tuesday, I guess, for all you regular people. I got to get this whole East Coast, West Coast thing down a little bit better. I talked to the people out on the West Coast, and it's like almost midnight out here on the East. So it is Margarita Monday for me. But for you guys, it'll be Margarita Tuesday. And this week for Margarita Monday, we have another meetup, the fourth episode of our Margarita Monday Meetup pod. The last 2 weeks, we've had my good friend Chris on, one half of NOHC Music, NOHC. We talked about, Watchmen, the HBO series. And we just had a 2-hour conversation, so we were able to cover that the last 2 weeks. And I thought only fitting to, follow up 2 weeks of Chris than by bringing in his better half, the other half of NOHC Music. And like I said, Chris's better half. His wife, it's one of these things when you're friends with a guy like Chris for as long as I've been friends with Chris. There was a stretch of time, high school, college, where I don't think any of us thought Chris would settle down. And this girl comes walking into the picture. And we always say it's tough for any girl to break into our group. I mean, we have a group of 10 to 12, 13 guys that have been friends for almost 30 years. And anytime a girl can come into that group and just immediately fit, it's a good sign. And this lovely woman did just that, man. She came in, fit in with all of us right away. I consider Sue to be one of my best friends. I love having her around because she is a horror fan. We're going to get into some horror stuff today. Every time I go out to Cali to visit her and Chris, we end up, her and Chris have different schedules, so we'll end up watching some horror movies. Love kicking it. She's so cool to hang out with. And to be able to put up with Chris's shit takes a lot. So she's a great woman. And when we found out that they were getting married, like I said, I don't know if I originally thought Chris would settle down, let alone be the first one married. But when you meet this woman, you understand why he was the first one married. She's an absolute keeper, and she is the other half of NOHC Music. And if you didn't like her because of just how cool she is, the minute she opens her mouth and starts singing, fall in love with this girl, man. I would have fallen in love if I was Chris. Good God, man, she's so freaking talented. It is an absolute pleasure for the old Seaman to welcome in my very, very good friend, Sue Vuoncino. How are you doing, Sue?
How are you? That was quite the intro. I feel like everybody's going to be disappointed.
Oh, no. Everyone knows that I'm full of shit, but when I talk about my friends, I never am, man. And you are certainly one of the best out there. So nice to have you on this week. Way better than, I enjoyed talking to Chris, but this is going to be way more fun than talking to Chris.
I was so jealous. He had so much fun last week.
We won't tell him that, but we're going to have a better time.
Without a doubt. We'll play it down though. We'll play it cool. I'll go inside of it. It is okay.
Yeah. So while we're at the top of the show, why don't you tell everybody where to go to hear you and Chris's music, if they're interested in listening to that stuff, and then maybe want to give us a couple bars so the people at home can also understand how the voice of an angel comes out of your mouth.
Very crazy. So you can find everything, any social media platform. It's nohcmusic.com. So it's NOHC music.com. And it's everything from Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, all that jazz.
Excellent. So, and like I said, give us a couple bars. Come on.
All right. So I'll do a little something from, we had a song come out last year that we were very honored to be a part of, and it actually came out under Armada Music, with our very good friends 10 Steps and DJ Standerwick, and it was called This Letter. So give you a little bit of that. And just a little side note, I can't sing the song without crying, so damn you if you make me do it.
Sue, I can't watch most movies without crying. I've cried multiple times on this channel, so it's totally fine, man. We're in tune with our emotions. I cry all the time.
All right, I feel more comfortable now.
Yeah.
All right. I know you're leaving, but before you're gone, I wanna say, please don't change. We're done repeating. Every last statement has gone to waste, and some replaced with broken feelings. Our lungs are sore from always screaming, but we still want more. If I run ever in the dark after the tiniest spark, if I run forever in the dark after the tiniest spark, will it start to make me better? I hope someday you read this letter.
Oh man, if you're not standing up and clapping right now, shame on you. God, I got the freaking goosebumps going. Oh, you're so good, Sue. I love it every time I get to hear your voice. So yeah, if you guys didn't like that, shame on you. You're crazy. Get a better taste in music. And if you loved it the way the Seaman loves it, make sure you go check Sue and Chris out over at Knock Music, knockmusic.com, and on all their social media all of their social media platforms at Knock Music. I'll have links down below in the description as always, and I'm sure I've probably populated the lower third or once or twice as we go. Thank you so much for putting up for me and giving me that little request. I love, like I said, love listening to you sing. That was an absolute pleasure. I hope, get some more people to listen to your guys' stuff because it's great. Now, I know last time Chris was on, he mentioned that there was some stuff in the works or coming up. Can you guys talk about that yet, or is it still hush-hush quiet?
Not yet.
Okay.
We have some tentative releases, but nothing that we could talk about right now. There are a few sprinkled out over this year coming up. So as soon as we have... as soon as we could speak about that, you'll be the first one that we share that information with. But it's exciting stuff. Definitely been very, very lucky to have the privilege and the honor to work with some incredible artists. So we're very excited to put that out there and share what we've created with the rest of the world.
Well, I am certainly excited to listen. Before we get into anything, I want to point out a little bit more about the music. 2 years ago, I've been going out to Cali now since you guys moved out there. I usually make it once a summer. It's starting to look like this might be the first summer I'm not out there because of this virus.
I know,
which
I hate
sucks.
it.
It sucks so much. But last time I was kind of out there for an extended period of time with you guys, got to participate in a music video with these guys. So much fun. Like I'd never been on like a set, for like a music video or anything like that. And what of a blast of a day, man. Like just having good tunes on in the background. There was a whole story mode. It's escaping me. What was the name of that song so people can go find it and see the Seaman? Well, you won't see my face, so we wore masks, but it's a cool video.
Yeah, but people could still look out for you and try to guess which character
try to figure out
you
who
are.
it is.
Yeah. So
what was the name of that track?
The song is called Hero.
That's right, Hero.
You
Such
could
a
find
good song.
Yeah, that'll be up on YouTube. You can find that on our webpage as well.
I will also put that link down below.
Yes, that was a cool one.
Man, we had a lot of fun with that one.
I know it kind of sounds like a love song, but it's like there was so much more that went into that song, and like the way the world was reacting to things going on at that time, and it was cool to like little teaser. Whatever so all of us have masks on in the video. It was just like a really cool concept, and like we were lucky to have Seaman there and a couple of friends that we just came to Cali and made instantly, and we're still good friends with them, and it's been that way since jump. But yeah, so it was cool. Like I just remember being like a newbie over here, and we were walking around the neighborhood, and I was like, I'm just gonna put up flyers, like just like free pizza and beer. Whoever wants to show up to this location, that's where it's at. And we ended up like, I was like, not a lot of people. I don't know if that's like bad to say, but like, you know,
It's
we
okay.
were new
There's
out
more
here and it's
beer
not
and
really,
pizza for me. And if you want to get me
maybe
to
we're
do
just not
anything, say
good.
beer and pizza. I'm always there.
I mean, come on.
I'll fly 3,000 miles for beer and pizza.
Right? Oh my God. Yeah, same. And like, so we had like a cool little group of people that came out. And it was really a great day. It was a great experience.
Yeah, it was one of those things. Like I remember the first time Chris played the track for me, I was like, "Oh, dude, this is like good. Like I really liked it." And like you said, Scott kind of it could almost be mistaken sort of for a love song. And then being in the music video and going through like the storyboarding and like the concept of the video, it added so much more context to the music because there was like the story that was playing out with it. I was like, "Oh, I never thought to look at it that way." Just
Yeah.
a really, really cool track. So make sure you guys also click on that down below. Check that out. Try to find the old Seaman in a mask and with way less. The beard's not going to give it away. I didn't have this much facial hair.
Don't look for the beard. It will not be there.
Yeah. So one thing I like to ask everybody when they get on, being that we're in this, quarantine, COVID world that we live in, what have you been watching, Sue? What can you recommend to the folks out there to check out while they're sitting at home, not doing anything? And if they're smart, they're listening to Mr. Larry David going, "This is the one time in life where you can just sit on your ass and watch TV. No excuses. No
That's
one
what
can get on you for it." So
speaking
what
of
should
Larry
people be
David,
watching?
I wish that Chris was into Curb Your Enthusiasm. He was more of a Seinfeld guy, which should make sense,
Doesn't
right?
make any
But I
sense
feel
to
like
me. Like, how
but
do
I
you
feel
not
like
love Curb if you love Seinfeld?
well, conversely, I wasn't really like a big Seinfeld person, but I'm a big Curb person.
I could understand that. I think more so than if you're a Seinfeld. Like, if you're a Seinfeld person, you should absolutely be a Curb person because it's like Seinfeld on steroids, So like,
Yes.
I can understand people being more like, "Oh, I like Curb because it's unfiltered, it's raw Larry David."
It's the raunchier side, the much
Yeah,
raunchier side of
but if you're a
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld
So
fan, how do you not love Curb? Oh,
I don't understand that, but hey, everybody's got their thing. There are people out there, and speaking of things that I watch all the time, like I watch The Office on repeat ad nauseum. Have watched the whole season, well, every single season. Um, I think about like 3 times through now, so
there you go. Office
getting
is
to
phenomenal.
it's almost an unhealthy level, but I feel like I'm not the only
It's
one
not.
doing
No,
this at
it's
this
not. It's
point.
not unhealthy. My mom has seen, I think, at this point, every single season of Grey's Anatomy, and there's like 22 of those
Oh
bitches.
my God, good
At
mom.
least 4 or 5 times. Like when she is opting to just kick her feet up and sit on the couch, she's putting on. I walk into the living room and just Grey's is on. I'm like, "What episode are we on, Ma? What season are we at?" She's like, "Oh, we're in season 16, episode 22." Like, you are what? And she can give you the lines. Like, at this point, you just quote them off. So I
Oh
think
yeah.
I think you're fine ripping through the Office like 3, if not more times.
You know what? I'm sure everybody has something to that extent right now that they're watching that's just like it's comfortable to them. They just know it like inside
Oh
and
yeah,
out, and it's just anything that makes you laugh at this point is going to be a good
that's
go-to.
oh yeah,
So
that's
so we always pepper in the office. Chris has never seen Shameless, so we've gotten through most of that. We just started on season
excellent
10,
show.
which is where I left off. So I was like, great, now I get to start actually watching
Nice stuff that you haven't
the
seen.
new episodes. I've been watching, stuff that I've seen time and time again before, and I was like, okay, cool, now I actually get to see something new.
At least you didn't do it in the wrong way, where like back in the day, my one of my ex-girlfriends, she had never seen Dexter, so I was like, "Oh my God, I love Dexter, let's rewatch Dexter." And it was the series wasn't over yet, so we binge watched all of Dexter up to the start of the finale, and then we had to
And then
watch
you
an
had to wait.
episode a week. And I was like, "You did this wrong, Corey. You gotta do this. You just
Yeah,
bang them all out at one time."
you need the ammo. So when you could see the finish line, that's when you need to go.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's
But
tough to watch TV like week by week. Although I thoroughly enjoyed, speaking of things to check out if you haven't, Disney Plus, The Mandalorian. Oh man, I lived for waking up on Fridays to watch that show like first thing in the morning. So I
Ah,
guess it's hit or miss. Like most of the time I hate having to wait, and with The Mandalorian, there was a part of me that hated waiting, but the actual when you have something that's that good, like I liked having the week wait because you got to talk about it for like 10 weeks rather than like talking about it in like 3-4 days because everybody binged it.
yeah.
But deep down, I love to just knock them all out at once.
Yeah. I will say for new shows, Last Dance is unbelievable.
Get out of here. So my girlfriend Emma literally hit me up today and is like, have you watched The Last Dance yet? I'm like, no, I have. So now that's on Netflix, right? Is it the same doc that's on ESPN?
Yes.
It is the same one.
So I don't know if we've been watching it on Netflix or if we were just watching it through the ESPN app, but
she goes to me today. She's like, have you heard The Last Dance? I'm like, is this like Save the Last Dance? Like, are you missing a word? And she's like, no, it's a Bulls documentary. I'm like, oh, what is it on? She's like, Netflix. I'm like, well, I'm taping all the ones that are on ESPN, but maybe it is. She's like, maybe it's the same thing, so maybe it is. But I've heard absolutely tremendous things.
Oh my god!
Because of the binge-worthy style, I like had a couple friends who saw like the first 2 episodes when the first 2 dropped, and they're like, I can't believe I gotta wait now for the next 2. I'm like, haha, see, I haven't watched any yet, so I'm gonna just binge them all at once.
Yeah, it's nice that they put out 2 at a time because it's like, oh, as soon as it's over, you're just like, I need more.
Yeah, I'm hearing really, really great things, so I'm definitely gonna check that out. Love Jordan. This guy, this guy is a Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant guy, not a LeBron James fan. He doesn't have that killer instinct the way Mike did, and the way Kobe did. Rest in peace, of course. But we digress. There's a reason I brought you on here today.
Oh yeah.
If you watch my channel, you all know I'm a big movie person. And one of the coolest things about the channel for me personally, outside of just like kind of building this audience I never expected to have and interacting with all these different people that I, from all over the world that I've gotten to kind of meet and talk and chat with, is the fact that like I've made the channel for me and all my friends. And I love anytime somebody hits me up on the old text message, like, yo, C-Man, what should we watch? Like, what do you think of this? Or like this? Or like, what kind of like, give me a good thriller to check out tonight. And that's one of the things during this, pandemic, I've gotten lots of texts like that. And I love kind of leading people into the right direction. As I mentioned earlier, me and Sue are both horror fans. And there was way back after seeing this movie, it's funny story about this. Funny story about this movie because I was talking to my girlfriend.
There was some bad blood.
Well, yeah. Well, so I was talking to my girlfriend. You might find this funny, Sue. So we went out like on our first date, and then 2 weeks from that day was when Midsommar came out in the movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I really want to see you like hang out tonight, but it's like new movie night. So like I'm gonna go to the movies. You're more than welcome to tag along with me, but I don't know like where I just started like seeing her. I was like, I don't know where you fall on like horror and like, suspense and things like that. But like, I'm gonna go see this like really fucked up movie tonight if you want to join me. And she's like, I'm in. And Midsommar was like our 4th or 5th date. I don't know how I got a girlfriend out of that. If like we both walked out and I was like, look, I like that movie, but that was not a date movie whatsoever. we were shocking that not only did she come back around for another date, but they A24 had put out a like toy that was like a limited edition collectible of a bear in a cage. And I'm talking about Midsommar because me and Sue are gonna get into Midsommar in a minute. And they're in the movie, there's a bear in a cage, and then they made this little toy with this creepy commercial. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta get me one of these. And I had forgot about the timing. I had like gone from work to the bar, and in that time missed like the first 10 minutes. Jumped on, the last batch was sold out. I was really, really disappointed. She made me like her own like make at home makeshift bear in a cage. Like that's I don't know how this movie led to a girlfriend who would make a bear in a cage for her boyfriend, but somehow we came out okay. And we're
well, did you both have the same reaction to the film initially?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Like she walked out and was like, what the fuck, Corey? I'm like, I know that was a poor date choice, but like I mean, we talked a little bit about it, and like there were definitely elements that we liked. Not a movie that I don't think she would ever watch again. And when I told her that I watched it again last night, I actually checked out the director's cut because I knew we were going to be talking, and I wanted to know what that extra 30 minutes was about. Spoilers. Well, spoilers right at the top. Me and Sue are about to talk about Midsommar, and we are going to spoil the shit out of this movie. I have a
Oh yeah.
non-spoiler review of the film, so if you haven't seen it and you kind of want to know my thoughts, I'll put that link down below in the description. But if you haven't
Nice.
seen Midsommar, get out now and come back, because me and Sue are going to talk about all of the dumb shit that goes on in this movie. But oh man, now I've detracted myself. But it was so I wanted to check out what I heard that there was like 30 extra minutes in the director's cut. It's pretty much the exact same movie. There's like 2 scenes that are kind of added that are like separate, like not extensions of scenes that involve the main characters, Danny and Christian, kind of talking about their relationship and how it's kind of falling apart, and then also getting to see one almost ritual happen. There's a ritual with a tree that ends up in a lake, and then they try to throw a small boy with a boulder on his stomach into the lake. He's like 9 years old maybe, and like right before they throw him in, they're like, "Oh, like you're very brave. You're so brave. We're not actually gonna throw you in." Like it was all like a fake out. But outside of that, it was just like mostly extensions of scenes or tracking shots. And maybe a couple things were shifted around a little bit, gives it a little bit better context. If you've seen the movie, it does watch nice, but it's definitely not worth purchasing on iTunes if you've already seen the movie and you're not like into buying them. But if you are into those things, there are some cool stuff in there. But as I said, Sue was asking me for a recommendation, and I recommended Midsommar. I was like, oh man, like you got to see. And now, remind me, did you see Hereditary before Midsommar?
Of course.
You liked Hereditary, yes?
Um,
Parts?
I liked it for like 70% of the movie.
The third
And then
act turn, yeah.
yes.
Same
And then
spot I lost it too.
And then I think it went the easy route. It went totally predictable when there was so much room in that movie to just, and it was already there. It
Yeah.
was
Oh yeah.
already at a
I thought they were
place.
building a great ghost movie, and then they went like hard right into the occult, and I was like, where did that come from?
So you don't even need to go the ghost route. You definitely need to go the cult route. Like it had so much room to just be so much greater than everything else. Like all right, we're talking about Hereditary. You know, there's just like a plethora of things that you could consider for an ending for this movie that's not going to take you down the stereotypical path and bring you to that kind of BS, you know? Yeah. I was just like, no, they didn't.
But like you said, like at least, and for me, I've watched Hereditary I think 3 or 4 times at this point. The rewatches get better because my biggest thing was I just didn't like the direction of like if you're gonna go occult, I like knowing that up front because that shit is, at least for me, that like you can feel that shit. It's
yeah.
like, it gets under my. I like to be prepared for those, and it kind of throw me off. Rewatching it, I think it plays a little bit better on the rewatch, but knowing that you had seen Hereditary like the first 3/4 of the movie the way I did, know that Ari Aster is really good at crafting a movie. The guy can shoot a movie. You know, he can kind of set the stage really, really well.
Oh yeah.
I figured
it was done beautifully.
Yeah, and so I knew that going into Midsommar, like I had seen Hereditary. I was like, this guy is a filmmaker, and he knows how to. Whether I like that third act twist, you know, or not, knows how to unnerve and unsettle a human being while watching a horror film, and knows how to build a family tragedy, like in ways that just like really mess with you. And I was like, cool, I'm in for Midsommar. And on first watch, albeit not a great date night movie, I did like Midsommar a lot more than Hereditary because it was kind of straightforward, very similar to The Wicker Man in its approach, and kind of stuff that it was doing with these kind of like European like rituals. The movie's filled with all these different rituals for this Swedish like commune group called the Horga. I believe it's all fictional as far as like the Horga and things of that nature, but the rituals that happen in the movie, they're not all Swedish rituals. Some of them are Germanic and European, but most every ritual in the movie happened in real life, which elevated the movie even more for me. So I was like, Sue, you gotta check out Midsommar. Like, if you liked 3/4 of Hereditary, Midsommar doesn't have that like weird twist. Like, you're just in weird from jump with this movie. Like, you should totally be in it. And what did you say to me after you saw Midsommar?
To punch you. I don't know. Something like I hate. Like I was so mad. I was like, I'm totally discrediting any of your suggestions because that was so bad. I don't know what it was about it. Like,
yeah. So give me your like, give me like your overall like first impression of the film. Let's start there.
Well, it was cool. I think that the cast was cool. I think that as like things started happening, it was predictable. I mean, it was cool for the sense that it's definitely going to get under your skin. Especially if you take into consideration that these are based on true events, but like, just like that part, everybody who's seen this knows
like
the part.
We're spoiling it. You can say it. What I forget what the word is. There's a word for the ritual, but
when
it's
there's
basically
a ritualistic suicide.
Yeah, the people in the Horga only live up to like 72. That was one of my favorite parts, like early in the movies. Like they said, like, oh, to like, from like sometime to 72, and they're like, what happens at 72? And the guy that they like brings them out there is like, you're like, wait, what? And then you see this ritualistic suicide happen where these two people just go off. That lady goes face first into a rock, and then that was one of the things that, like, if I could ask Ari Aster a question, I'd be like, was it intentional that the old man did a pin drop? Because, like, Homeboy did not try to kill himself. He just shatters his legs, which in the director's cut, they show you a second shot of the shattered legs.
Oh, no.
Absolutely mutilated. Like, even it was worse than I thought it was of the original.
Was it worse than the face?
Well, no, and that's so like he doesn't die, and then everyone starts screaming and freaking out, and like some dude with a huge hammer and two people behind him come and smash this dude's face in with a hammer 3 times.
But it's like a close up.
Oh yeah, like you see his face like cave.
Like bones and
the special effect unit for that movie did.
Oh yeah, they nailed that.
Absolutely crazy
that was
good work.
Gruesome. But see, like, and that's important too. Like those, if you're gonna have something during the day where, like, obviously daytime is not the go-to setting for most horror films, right?
Factual.
But
it's like so bright the entire movie.
It's so friggin' bright. It's so bright. But like, you have those moments, and for whatever it's worth, like at least Hereditary, and I can't even compare the two because even like I liked most of Hereditary. I think that they chose an easy ending. I think that it had much more potential.
That's fair.
Nonetheless, I think that part, and sorry, am I allowed to spoil anything for Hereditary as well?
Yeah. If we're talking,
right,
we're spoiling.
There is
I have a non-spoiler of Hereditary up as well. I'll throw that link down in the description. If you want to know about the movie without spoiling, go there. If you've seen the movie and you're down for spoilers, listen to what Sue's about to say.
Or take a second to walk away. I'll give you a moment. But no, at least like that moment where the girl's head comes off, I will never unsee that.
No,
I will never.
Ever.
I've never ever seen a movie or seen a portion of a movie, and that's something I will never ever forget as long as I live. And
you don't see it coming either until it's starting to come, and you're like, nah, they're not gonna do. They wouldn't do, and then they do it, and you're just like,
you just know something bad is about to happen at that point, but you don't know that's going to happen.
Yeah. Like
and then especially too, like the just getting up the next day and like that still being a real just the screams, like that's
that's if there's one interesting thing for both of these movies, Ari Aster got actors that committed so hard that it's like the rawest, most emotional crying sound you've ever seen. Like Toni Collette's scream when she finds the body, and how they just let that scream carry out all the way into, like, it's the same kind of a scream cry when, like, you're going to the funeral that day. Oh, like, kills you. And then same thing, like, friggin' Florence Pugh, who plays Danny in Midsommar, her family tragedy, as I said, Ari Aster is really good at crafting these family tragedies. Her sister has bipolar disorder, and she, like, sends a really dark message, like, it's everything's black and mom and dad are coming too, and Danny's like, I don't know what this means, answer me back, like, sending all these emails. Homegirl attaches 2 hoses to the 2 exhaust pipes of the car.
Oh God, I forgot about that part. Yeah.
And has one, like, attached to the door of her parents' room and, like, tapes it all in so the gas kills both of her parents, and then puts the other one on her mouth. And, like, the way the camera takes you in through that whole sequence and just shows it, same thing. When she finds out about that, they go to this bit where she's, like, having her emotional breakdown, and she's, like, in Christian's lap, and she's crying so hard there's, like, a reverberation, like, there's reverb in the cry, and I'm like, that's, like, you don't do that unless you're really crying. And, like, oh, like, and those are the things in these movies that, like, get you in a way where you're just like, fuck, man.
I have the chills right now.
Yeah.
I actually forgot about that part because I was so
I'm gonna turn you on this.
Like,
I'm gonna turn you on this movie too. You're gonna watch it again and be like, you know, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Maybe
I
not.
have no shot because Chris and I are both home at the same times right now, so you're gonna have to wait a minute. But I've only had one other movie ever affect me that way with the scream, rather, not just the cry.
What
that movie was Excision.
Excision?
Did we ever speak about this?
No, we have not talked about this movie.
It's not horror per se. All right, so we could go through the list of, like, my all-time, like, just so you could get in my mind and what I think is actually good, but
we can go anywhere you want.
We could come back to that later, but, like, I will say, so Excision is more of, like, a psychological thriller.
Okay, love thrillers.
It was just, I don't even know how to classify it other than that. It's definitely worth the watch, but, like,
Excision, like incision, but X instead of IN?
Correct.
All right, I gotta take a look at that.
EX.
EX. Well, yeah, EX. X, like if you spelt X, not the.
Yeah, it is, though. It is a strange friggin' movie, and just the interaction of, like, a family going through traumatic events, and just, like, it's just, but, like, there's one point in the movie where just something crazy happens, and, like, and one of the characters just screams, and I don't want to say when that is, who it's with, but it's something, and the music as well. The music in that movie.
Scoring is, like, if you're making any horror movie at all, scoring is I think horror is one genre where any movie, the right score can make a movie, but, like, horror, you have to have the right score, because especially something like Midsommar or Hereditary, where Aster has this unbelievable nature in his filmmaking of letting the camera do things that unnerve you. Like, there's a shot in Midsommar where he's, like, tracking the car, and then the camera starts to go up to the sky, and it makes the road look like it's going up, and then he's upside down. Beautiful shot. But at the same time, like, it's also kind of an unnerving shot, because I was like, I've never seen anything do that. And it's kind of weird. And the score he has going under it makes that shot so creepy, even though it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And he does, like,
even in sorry, and I keep going back to Hereditary because I think it has so many, like, great parts to it. But, like, even, like, that part where it's just, and, like, it goes from night to day. Like, something as, like, simple as that. It hasn't been done in that light before in a movie like that. And it's just, like, simple, tiny little things like that. And there are also moments where they use that kind of skewed vision on the camera, you know what I mean? And just going from like baseline to upside down. And it's just like, it's really weird. And it just, like, takes you somewhere else. But these are all, like, little key things. Like, it doesn't have to be, like, I don't think because let's be honest, there are really not that many good horror movies anymore. I think it's, like, I'm definitely more content with searching for psychological thrillers now.
Yeah.
And I mean, but you never really know what you're gonna get. It's kind of like a mixed bag.
Well,
And
and that's one of the other things that I like about Astor's approach to horror. Same with Jordan Peele, is like for
oh,
so
Jordan
long,
Peele
genius.
is I can't
He's so good. I
I
did like
am
two and a
just
half
devoted to
hours.
watching whatever he has coming
Oh my
out
god, I did. I
from
think
now until who
if you
knows.
between my non-spoiler and then my spoiler breakdowns of Us, I think I have like 2+ hours of content talking about that movie because it's so damn genius. I think I saw Us.
Did you like that one?
Oh, Us, I saw 5 times the first 7 days it was out. It was because and that's like that's what I was gonna get into is like those two guys. Like when I grew up getting into horror, like I love watching like C and D level slasher flicks just to see the ways in which they kill people. Like I'll put on a bad horror movie. You give me some interesting death scenes, and I'm able to enjoy it. But these guys like approach horror movies like movies, like the craft of the movie. It gets more. It has the vibes of like the early like horror films like Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street when the first time the movies came out where it was like, oh man, someone's taking like these horror movies to a different place. And then obviously they kind of got repetitive and you just kind of banged out as many as you could. But like they're real filmmakers making these movies. And like I love Astor's vision, like the way he moves a camera, like just the subtle, like he doesn't even do like he does some cool things that are interesting, like we said, like that shot like where they make all of a sudden the car and the road is upside down. But he does the simple things, man, like the way he can just either zoom in or zoom out or pan left and right, the movement timed with the score, like you just get things that are like that kind of just get under your skin just because of the combination of all of it. But like there's also things like he had Midsommar specifically, back-to-back sequences. He has the camera just stationary on like either a person or a group of people. I think it's the first time Danny talks to Christian, like after coming out of like all the family stuff. She's in her room, the camera is on her, and then right next to her is a mirror, so you can see Christian sitting in the seat so that the camera doesn't have to cut and you can have this two-way conversation. And the next scene is like her coming over and he, to like find out that she's been invited to go to Sweden with all them. And it's the three friends sitting on the couch and the mirror is above them. And it's him in the mirror. He opens the door and then him and Danny are standing there. Same thing. It's like, you just don't see stuff like that. And it's like, oh, that's really cool. But in the right context, it's also kind of weird. Like you're used to seeing the camera cut back and forth. So when you get things that don't do that, I love things like that. There's another movie. I have to look it up to get the name of it, but it's basically like one of those. The concept of the movie is the lead character has like some mental issues, and she goes to like a psych ward just to have a sit down, and I think to try to get meds, and they end up like trapping her in the psych ward.
Yikes.
I can't. I'm gonna look up the name of it, but there's two or three shots in the movie where the camera is set steady and they just break all the rules. Like I'm a journalism kid. I went to school for journalism, broadcast and stuff. And like, there's a specific way that you set up a camera. Like the eyes should always be in the upper third of, when you're on a one shot, like the eyes should always be in the upper third of the screen. And like, it was like, you'd set the screen this way. And it's like, this is how the shot is. And I'm sitting here like this, and there's all this headroom and space over here that's just not being used. And it's like, it's weird in a way where like it gets under your skin. If you can do interesting things like that in horror, I think it can add to what what you have going on. I think Midsommar and Ari Aster specifically does a lot of that stuff that's really, really good. And if you can't tell, I really enjoy Midsommar. Sue, why don't you enjoy Midsommar?
Like, listen, like I said,
know.
when I have the house to myself again, I will give it another watch. Just because, I don't like the fact that like I didn't get into it the same way that other people did, because maybe I am missing something. But I just know, also like I have this really bad tendency when movies come out that I'm really stoked about. Like I think it's like months and
You
months.
you put it,
And I'm just like,
build it into a spot that it shouldn't be
I'm
at.
like, when is this coming out? I need to see this. Like, I just see the trailer, and if it's a good trailer, like truly,
Yeah.
and there's not many movies that you could get excited about that, like, you know. And
I'd be speaking to the wrong guy in that world. If you've ever
yes,
seen any of my trailer reactions, I
I
get excited for everything.
Let me rephrase that. I
If you're not
only get excited for like,
not everybody gets super excited for everything.
listen, but there are, you know,
No, I know
I
exactly what
enjoy
you mean.
superhero movies and things like
Yeah,
that,
no,
and
but
there's some
even
some
me,
good funny ones in between, but
only certain
it's
movies get to that spot where it's like one of the things that I'm real pissed off about with the whole COVID virus is John Wick 4 and Matrix 4 were going to come out on the exact same day, like double the Keanu. Those are the type of movies though where I get to that level where I'm like, I'm so hyped I can't, like I'm like an addict, man. I got an itch waiting for these freaking movies to come out.
I didn't know about that, but I could definitely empathize with you on that.
I keep hoping that like both the Matrix and John Wick will just move their new date to the same day, because everybody was stoked. Like when they announced that, everybody on Twitter was stoked. They were like, "Oh my gosh, which movie are you gonna see first?" Because it'd be like,
I didn't even know there was a John Wick 4 coming out though.
Oh, Sue, there's a John Wick 4 coming. It's spoilers. It's gonna be glorious.
Oh my goodness! I didn't know there was much more to go on with that. But hey,
did you
I'm
see
never
3?
gonna say no to Keanu, and I will watch him kick ass up and down the street all day.
Another tangent away from Midsommar. We have so many of these tonight. If you like the John Wick movies, I just checked out Extraction on Netflix, starring Chris Hemsworth. It's written by Joe Russo, who is one half of the Russo brothers, who you should be familiar with, who have directed almost all the best, Avengers movies, Endgame, Civil War, Infinity War, Winter Soldier. Those guys, Joe Russo wrote the movie. He had also collaborated on the graphic novel that it's based off of. And the main stunt guy for all of like the Avengers movies that the Russo brothers did is Chris Hardgrave is the director. And then you have Chris Hemsworth in the role. I didn't think the script was super strong, but in movies like that, it doesn't need to be. It is a John Wick type action movie. There are so many freaking headshots in this thing. Oh, it's glorious. The first sequence that Hemsworth has, I'm just like, yeah, I'm here. There's a 12-minute action scene that never cuts. And it goes outside of the car, inside of a car, multiple car chases. And I was just sitting there, like, before we got on for this. That's why I was late. Just going, oh my God. Like, it's not John Wick level, but the action is like that step that's like right, like below John Wick. Oh man, if you like those movies, you should definitely check out Extraction.
Nice. I mean, who wouldn't like John Wick? Who doesn't like John Wick?
I don't know. It's just pure, like, just to get into Extraction a little bit. Like, my problem with the script is the thing I think that John Wick did so brilliantly, and like it made me appreciate those movies even more. It sets up everything it needs to set up about the character and about the story in like that first 30 minutes. Like, spoilers, find out like his wife dies from cancer. The last thing she does is send him a puppy that arrives like the day after she dies. Then somebody kills that dog and steals his car. And from that point on, you have 3 movies that only exist because John was pissed that somebody killed his dog. And as a human, and specifically a dog guy, I was like, I can empathize. I'm with Keanu. If somebody did that to my dog, I would go hunt them down.
I would be John Wick.
Yeah, and that's like the genius thing about those movies is like, once you have the storytelling stuff done in the first movie, you don't have to tell a story. You just have to build the world, which they're really, really good at doing, and then just give me like unbelievable action for Keanu, and that's what they do. And Extraction does like some of that stuff, but the story is kind of sparsed out where you learn things about Chris Hemsworth's character like throughout the movie. I was like, there were times I was just like, I wish you could have just had all that at the front and just give me action. But the action in the movie is stellar, and the thing that I liked about it is, look, I love Keanu. John Wick would win in any fight with anybody, but Chris Hemsworth is so freaking large and like just jacked that there's like a different level of like ferocity to when he hits people than when John does, and it's glorious. It's if you like those movies, you'll definitely like Extraction, so you should definitely check it out.
Nice.
You and everybody else out there. All right, no more tangents. Keep coming back to Midsommar.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, so the one thing, have you ever seen the original Wicker Man? The 1970, I think it's 72, 73.
No, and I meant
So
to
it's
say
on.
that before. I don't think that I've seen that. And when you say Wicker Man, I'm
Do you think of the
probably
Nick Cage?
thinking of the wrong thing. Yes.
So okay, so they remade the movie late 90s or early thousands, I think it came out with Nick Cage. That movie is ludicrous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Because Nick Cage is an absolutely ridiculous human being. The 1970, same thing. I had never seen the original Wicker Man. I'd seen the Nick Cage one, and even just from the Nick Cage one, I could see like elements that Ari Aster was pulling for Midsommar from there. So I was like, let me watch the original one. I watched the original one before I watched Midsommar yesterday. Solid movie. Very, very subtle, very simple. But like one of those things where it's got this big twist ending, and you get to the end of the movie, you're like, shit. Which sucks because I knew that was what was going to happen in the movie because I'd seen the Nick Cage one. But still, like, it's one of those I can appreciate, like, watching that movie being like, damn, dude, like, that was a good build to those places. And you could see, like, some of the stuff that he's pulling from. Excuse me. Obviously, in using here, it's a Scottish, like, midsummer festival. But, like, the idea of a midsummer kind of festival and thing to have, like, these rituals and weird shit going on the whole movie. But that was the stuff, like, it was one of those, like, for me, I heard a lot of people go, oh man, like, most people that I had talked to who didn't like Midsommar were like, well, you know, it's like a less good version of the Wicker Man. And as I said, maybe it's because I knew how the Wicker Man eventually ends, and you know, it's a movie from the 70s, and I appreciate it for what it is. The thing I loved about Midsommar is it took like a lot of the essence of that movie, and the original 1972 or 3 like Wicker Man doesn't really creep me out or scare me or get under my skin at all. Midsommar does nothing but get under your skin the whole movie, and I live for that like unsettling type stuff. So within the context of like that world that they built for the Horga and stuff, like what was it that just turned you off on the movie on that first viewing?
I don't know. Like, am I a weirdo for saying like it just didn't get under my skin the same way? Like it just didn't. I thought that there was like a transparency to it from early on that you could just kind of like be hip to if you really wanted to. Like I really wanted it to affect me differently, but I just kind of saw where it was going from early on, and you know, it's not really hard to lose sight of what's happening in that movie.
You it definitely, like, there are definitely things about the movie where you're like, well, I know it's gonna probably go here, even though it shows me things I didn't expect to see, the general vibe and where it's trying to take you. So I definitely get that. Ooh,
yeah, just like the whole
what are you drinking over there, Sue? It
is
is Margarita Monday over here. So what do you got?
Oh, I got a little just a little whiskey ginger
there you go. Yeah,
for the session.
You know, I like to stress, you know, it's the Seaman's Margarita Monday, so I'm always margaritaed up. But you know,
nice
for me, as long as you got a drink in your hand, I'm always happy on a Monday.
Yeah, Chris was like, "Bring a drink in there with you."
He knows. He knows for a while. I was like,
"Okay, yeah."
So you know, like I can definitely, I definitely can understand, like from that standpoint, like it's not a movie that necessarily. Well, I mean, it definitely shocks you, but like from like, oh, you know, probably where this movie is going to go, I could see it being maybe a little bit underwhelming, especially if it's hyped up the way I can hype up a freaking movie.
Yeah, well, that too. I think that I just like was just so excited to see it, and I like had this countdown, and I was like, oh, 2 more months, whatever, and I was all excited. But I think that like I think that I didn't see it immediately, and it was getting a lot of negative feedback. And
Yeah,
I
it
think,
didn't land like
yeah,
the audience score on the movie was more split. The critics loved it, and I can totally understand because from a filmmaking standpoint, the movie is very strong. Like we've already said this, like Ari Aster knows how to craft a movie. The way he shoots and his artistic ability is brilliant. But it's the substance of that movie that either kind of wins or doesn't win for people.
yes, yes. The direction of the movie and the director's eye beyond everything, it was just like, was fascinating, and I really loved the way that it was shot. But it was just like, I don't know,
Yeah.
the overall storyline that I was just like, you kind of like had me at like with the 72-year-old
So is that
uh
that was gonna be my next question. What are like your top like what were the moments that fucked you up the most in that movie?
that was really it, to be honest. Like, it wasn't anything past that scene that really, it was like I said, it was beautifully shot. I think the director has a great eye, but like there was nothing really that scared you or
Yes,
really like
I
took
guess
you
that's it. It's
somewhere
not
else in your
scary.
mind. No,
Yeah,
no,
it's
no, no,
not really a
no. But
scary movie. It's a
it didn't bug
movie.
me out or get under my skin the way that it has for other people.
All right, so I'm totally with you on the ritualistic suicide. Like, see, whether they're dummies or not, seeing a person's face virtually explode from impact on a rock it'll mess you up. And obviously, the family tragedy, seeing that like crime scene that's left at the beginning of the movie, also like messed with me. But the thing that got me more than anything in the movie happens towards the end when you've got Christian at this point has been brought in. There's like a girl who, so the way the Horga works is like they kind of like sign off on mating, and to avoid incest because it's an enclosed community, they'll have people who like come of age for mating mate with outsiders. So there's like a girl who like has just got it for Christian the whole movie. And that's the other thing that's interesting about this film is it's like a really messed up breakup movie. The whole movie is really about Danny and Christian's breakup going the whole time, and it builds all the way to the point where this dude is tripping balls on some like mushroom tea, and he basically gets it feels like he doesn't have any control, but he's also a dickbag the entire movie. Like, you hate this guy the whole film. He's the worst boyfriend ever. But he ends up having sex with this girl. And while this ritualistic sex scene is happening, the room is filled with all these other naked women who are like breathing and moaning in harmony with like Christian and this redhead girl. And then Danny's character was like, "What's going on over there?" And one of the women is like, "You shouldn't go over there." And she's like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna go over there," because she knows what's happening. And when she sees like the sex happening, comes outside, and the thing that Florence Pugh is phenomenal at this film is her emotional breaks are so raw and natural and real. And she starts to have one of those, and then she gets surrounded by all these women, and then they start crying in unison with her. So you're going from like this group of women that are crying and screaming in unison with Danny to this group of women that are like moaning and like grunting in unison with Christian and this girl. And I don't know. I think it was just the sound and like what was going on. I was disturbed, which I think was the point of that whole sequence. But outside of the visual like suicide ritual, like that was probably for me the weirdest, most disturbing thing in the whole film. And there's a lot of that like communal like moaning, or they experience like joy and pain simultaneously. It's really, really odd.
I definitely need to, as much as I really don't want to, I'm gonna have to watch this again to give it another shot, because
I'm getting there.
like you're bringing back more and more points where I'm like, oh yeah, that was really cool. And like I think that part of it too is like they showed so much in the trailer. I think that they showed like almost too much in the trailer. It was
I
like,
complained
what's
about that
gonna
a lot.
happen. Yeah,
I wish
yeah. So
everybody could make trailers as good as Marvel does. They
yeah.
don't ever ruin the big things.
But yeah, I mean, like the end where she's just like, okay, yeah, you're staying here and you're gonna be wrapped up in that bear, and we're just gonna set you on fire. Like that's some sadistic stuff. Like,
Well,
it's definitely disturbing. But yeah, it just like I don't know. It was between like showing too much in the trailer. Now that I think about it more and more, and the fact that like it's just like, oh, it's that stuff that's in like typical horror movies
yeah,
where it's like, let's run, into the slaughterhouse.
it's like,
But
don't do
it's
that.
like, yeah, you see these things going on and everybody's like, no, we should probably stay. And then where's your friend? It's like, come on, man. Things like
Oh,
that.
yeah, that's
I'm
fair.
like, mm,
The
I don't
I,
want to. I don't
I
want to see the same things time and time again, as different as like that setting was and the whole premise for it and everything. Like I just think that it was little things like that are
it's fair.
just,
That one of my I think
why'd you have to do that?
one of my biggest issues I think with the director's cut and like what like I heard there was 30 more minutes of footage. I was like, oh, we're gonna see like some other effed up things that like he came up with. And you can argue that probably the three of the what would be probably the scariest or like most messed up killing sequences all happen off screen. Like that was one of those like the two. So there's a Swedish guy in our main group, right? And then his brother brings like two other outsiders in. Those two outsiders getting killed happens off screen. Like the one dude is like got flowers put in his eyes and like his back is all filleted open. And then the funny Will Poulter's character, the funny guy in our main group, he gets killed, and you don't see that happen either. Like he goes off screen with a girl, and then the next time you see him is when the black kid is like inside where they have like their like religious text, and he's taking pictures, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden he turns, he's like, "Oh, like Mike, what are you doing here?" And it's the like deformed like prophet kid in the movie that's like a they create all of their like oracles through incest, so he's all deformed and stuff, and he's wearing Mike's face, and you're like, oh man, they cut his like they made a Mike mask out of like a dude's real head. I thought maybe we would get some of that stuff in the director's cut. We don't see any of it all. Probably some of the most effed up stuff in the movie happens off screen, which if I was gonna give it a knock, I'm here for weird things that are kind of messed up. I would have liked to have seen one or two of those, probably.
Yeah, and there should have been like more to that too, because that was again, that was one of the parts of the movie that was shown in the trailer, and you were like, what the hell is that about? And
And
you
you don't
only
see
saw
it.
it for
Yeah.
like 5 minutes, not even, and
Yeah.
you're like, that's it, that's all that's all I
Yeah.
saw.
And it's like, I like there is an aspect of like a surprise to some of it. Like when you don't see it coming, like Mike all of a sudden being a mask plays really well that first time through because you didn't see it happen to him. But like once people start disappearing off screen, and the fact that this does have like a Wicker Man and these like pagan ritual type vibes to it, I mean, all the runes and different drawings and things just kind of clue you into like messed up things are going to happen.
Yeah.
At least in the director's cut, like show me what happened, because Will Poulter is, for my money, like obviously I think Florence Pugh is the best thing in the movie. Her performance is phenomenal. She's our main character. She's taking us through everything. But Will Poulter, who I adore, like he was so good early on in his career at playing like the awkward guy in comedies, to like then be given like the I'm the dickbag funny guy in this movie, and he crushes that stuff. Like when he pees on the ashes of like all that, there's an ancestral tree, and it's essentially like their burial grounds. All of the every time someone commits suicide at 72, they burn them to death, and they take the ashes and they spread them on and around this tree. And Will Poulter's character goes to take a leak and starts peeing on it. One of the guys freaks out. Like he had his comedic timing in the movie is brilliant. Even though you hate him because he's kind of a dick to Danny, like he's really funny. It was like, come on, man, you're gonna take out one of my favorite characters. I want to see it.
Yeah.
So which performance for you is your favorite in the movie?
Um, definitely the girl
Florence Pugh.
Florence. I wasn't sure of her name. Yeah, she's fantastic. Like, and she just takes you through like such an emotional spectrum, and like you could empathize with her all the way.
Oh
It
yeah.
just because you're tied into, and there's so much to see about like her life, and you're going through, like you said, her relationship and her family stuff, and just like now being in like a foreign place where something's wrong. So it's just like you get like the sense that you're just being like cornered
Yeah.
with her.
Oh yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that was like, oh, it definitely like made you feel anxious the entire time. But she definitely took the cake for that one.
Yeah. And then least favorite character for you?
Uh I don't know. There are a couple of them, like just within like the cult themselves, that
Yeah,
are
yeah.
just like, because they're so, oh, come sit with us. Like it's just,
Fair.
I don't know. Being a New Yorker and just being uh completely skeptical of anything and anybody, it's like, how can it's so hard to just deny those emotions and be like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna sit down with you right now. I can't. That stuff gets under my skin.
Oh,
Please.
that's fair. Well, I tell you, you got, so final thoughts. Anything that you haven't said about the movie that you want to get off your chest, or
No,
just get off?
you are bringing back a lot of points that I did. I will.
I did the same thing with Chris. Chris was like, I liked Watchmen, but like there's some things I got issues with. And then the same thing, we got to the end of our conversation. He's like, talking with you, like, I think I like the show more. I'm like, yeah, I know, because I'm really good at selling. I should probably be a salesman because I can sell anything sometimes, or at least movies. I can sell a movie hard if I like it enough.
And you're committed, so
Yeah,
every side of it.
I'm
Yeah.
always pot committed. Um,
No, but I'll definitely I'll take a shot when I do have some alone time over here, and I'll give it another watch.
all right. Hopefully you don't come back with, damn it, Corey, I hate you more for convincing me to watch this stupid movie a second time.
No, now it's on me. Now it's on me.
That's fair. Fool me once, shame on. Is it shame on you? Fool me twice, shame on me? Something like that. I don't know. I'm bad with sayings. So I think the only thing that I would point out about the movie, that I would want to call attention to, that I've definitely never talked. Again, it has to do with some of the ways like Ari shoots the movie. There's, when she's in that apartment before they go to Sweden, and she's sitting down with Pelle, the Swedish, their Swedish friend, and he's like, I never had the opportunity to like tell you like sorry about like the loss of your family or whatever. Anytime her family comes up in the movie, she starts to get into like a hyperventilating, like crying bit, and she kind of gets up and she always removes herself, which you have to appreciate, because like things like that I think are some of the stuff like the friends of Christians are like, dude, you've wanted to get out of this relationship for like a year now. Like she's just like all these things, and then she's always separating, but she walks into the bathroom and the camera follows her like up over top. And as she goes into the bathroom, when it cuts back down, it's everything is the same as what you were seeing above, but now she's in the plain bathroom, like shit like that, and like it's just, it's, I can totally understand the subject matter and maybe the movie not hitting from that standpoint, but God, man, the way this dude makes a freaking movie, like he just, I love the artistic ability of Astor and the way he builds a movie, and the fact that they went and found this like huge open field and built all this shit. Like they had, it's fun. There's actually an extra on the iTunes download where they do like a half-hour time lapse of them building the entire thing. And when they got there, just a big empty field, and then they fill it like to create this really weird, fucked up world that's gorgeous. And like you said, I don't think it gets talked about enough. Is I love that point, was the fact that it's in daylight. Like it's midsummer, so they're like around the longest day of the year, and like when it gets dark, it's like dusk is about as dark as it ever gets in the movie. And in the theatrical cut, they don't
Yeah.
really ever show anything going on outside in the dark. Everything from a ritual standpoint happens in the daylight. And you don't get that in horror movies a lot. So it makes everything really bright and vivid and gross.
Yep.
Well, Sue, unless you've got anything else on Midsommar, there's anything else you want to talk about, I think we've maybe come to the end of this wonderful. I'm out of margarita, so I think we've reached the end of our Margarita Monday meetup. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
Yeah, we definitely have to do this again.
It's brought some new light to the movie for me.
I'm good like that. That's not.
So I've heard.
So one more time, tell everybody where they can find you and Chris's awesome stuff, and kind of give us a little goodbye.
So everything once again is at NOHC.com. And definitely stay tuned on our website, Instagram. We'll definitely keep you guys posted when we have something coming out.
Yes, I can't wait. Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure for having you on. As you know, I love talking to you about horror movies and just movies in general. We'll definitely have to do this again. And there we go, folks. We've reached the end of another Margarita Monday meetup here at the cinema. Sit down. Always a really, really good time. Me and Sue have exhausted ourselves talking about all sorts of things. Midsommar was supposed to be our point of focus, and we bounced around to plenty of things. So we've had our fill of talking. So now it's your turn, man. If you liked or disliked Midsommar, or there was anything you want to try to add to the conversation about that film, please do so down below in the comments. I always look forward to talking to you guys down there. And obviously anything that me and Sue hit on, if you have anything to say, please let us know, what you were liking or disliking about any of the movies or things that we talked about, or even us. Let us know if you like hearing us talk. Let us know if you didn't like hearing us talk. I don't know who wouldn't like hearing us talk. Shoot, I'd understand not liking me and Chris, but how could you not like this conversation, man? Anything that you are thinking goes down below in the comment section. I'll see you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please show me some love, show Sue some love, show Knock Music some love. Give me a thumbs up. Go check out Knock Music and all their stuff, knockmusic.com, and then all their social medias at Knock Music. Make sure you're checking out that stuff. And I think that's it, man. So for the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down, another Margarita Monday in the books. This has been my good friend Sue. And I, of course, am the Seaman. I am signing off. Sue, do it with me. Peace.
Well, that's all live and breathe. You still here? Check out a video like this one or this one, and hit the subscribe button so you can get alerts and check out everything the Seaman's got at the cinema Sit Down.